Boom.
Particular.
Mushroom. Hello everyone, this is Particular Mushroom, and the time has finally come. Nintendo has finally made, in their own terms, a 3D sandbox Mario, a successor to Super Mario Sunshine. If that doesn't get me excited, then I don't know what will. So what better game for my first review than
Super Mario Odyssey!
Alright Mario, why don't you just do the rest of the video for me, thanks! Yes, I know I'm a bit late, but I resolved myself to 100% Odyssey before even starting this review. That said, I feel it's important for a review like this to be spoiler-free, although really, what does spoiler-free even mean? I've seen many a review that say no spoilers, and then half a second later a spoiler casually floats across the screen. I'm all like, why you do this? Granted, they're not big story spoilers or anything like that, but when I see you spoil one of my favorite experiences in a game just because it was so satisfying to figure out on my own, I'm not buying your spoiler-free carp. It's too expensive. So to help you have a good morning, afternoon, or whatever time of day it is, maybe you're in space and there is no time of okay, I'm getting off topic here. Here's what we'll be covering in this review. If that's too spoilery for you, then you're probably gonna want to leave. Otherwise, let's get started without any further delay. The story is very Mario in that it's pretty simple. Bowser has kicked Mario to the curb in an attempt to forcibly marry Peach, and in this vertical downfall, our mustache man meets Cappy, a ghost hat hybrid that has lost his sister to Bowser as well. The two decide to team up to rescue them in a ship called the Odyssey. Although this is a good catalyst to start the journey, the pursuit theme doesn't fit the whole let's goof off in the Sand Kingdom for 3 years while Bowser is doing, I don't know, who cares what Bowser is doing? You'll notice immediately that this game throws in this underlying realism to everything. Everyone always points out the T-Rex, guess I'll do it too. However, Mario himself, as well as most enemies, still retain that cartoony style we're used to. The whole game is this blend of realism and cartoon, and even though it's jarring at first, I must admit this feels like the right direction for Mario. No matter how realistic a particular texture or object gets, the levels as a whole still retain that fantasy vibe that's so important. I particularly like how the Chain Chomps have those big, goofy eyes, but are riddled with bumps and ridges that you expect from real metal. Heck, even the main collectible is sanded with chips and marks. The game is full of visual treats like this, and other than a few hiccups, which involve spoilers, the visuals come together exceptionally well. Speaking of spoilers, fog. You'll know what I mean. Next up is music, which may be the weakest sense indulgence in the game. And don't be smart with me and say, what about smell and taste? That's not a video game thing, and if you think otherwise, you can go eat a Pro Controller and tell me how that goes for you. Is Odyssey's soundtrack better than Galaxy's? No. Does it matter? Not really. Odyssey doesn't have that instant memorabilia that Galaxy does, but that's about the worst I can say. I mean, my favorite track in the game is actual cacophony. Bonus points if you know the track. Each track in this game fits the setting to a T, and the main overworld tracks are exciting and invigorating in the moment, even if I can't remember them. Many tracks in the game also feature remixes, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, keep it that way, they're great. The game also employs fade-ins, which means certain areas of the map are silent, and then when you cross invisible lines, the music drums up. It's pretty neat to have the game send you natural stimulus when you enter an area of high action. However, it can get annoying fast if for some reason you keep crossing that invisible line over and over again. Some people may not like the environmental sounds so much, but you'll be hearing music more often than not. And I'm okay with it because sounds. If the music took a backseat in Odyssey, it's because the sounds are brilliant. I usually don't pay attention to sounds in video games. Yes, there are iconic sounds like the 1-Up or Blue Coin that are exciting, but usually they're sort of tacked onto a game, as in, here's an item, player grabs item, we need player feedback, so we add sound. Basically, they're typical and ordinary. But Odyssey flies in like a flaming Goomba meteor and erupts over the entire landscape. The kingdoms feel alive with sounds. In front of you, behind you, to the left of you, to the right of you. Even objects far off screen will make noise, like metal contraptions clanging in the distance. And Mario sounds so smooth, it makes me wonder if I must have dashed my $200 microphone on the floor at some point. The Power Moon jingle followed by the click is amazing. And then the coins. Okay, quick aside, coins, the regular yellow ones, all things considered, are a lame collectible. You need an overdose of coins to 100% the game, but until then you simply will not run out. However, the coin sounds are amazing. Enjoy your first coin stack, and your first spoilers will blow your mind. Now, I don't really have too much to say about the HD Rumble, it kinda just worked. There are a few mandatory uses for the Rumble in-game, but they're short and easy secrets, and don't really interrupt the game flow. Let's move on to controls, because the game can look, sound, and taste good, but if the game doesn't control at least decently, it's not going to be fun. Mario has a staggering amount of moves in Odyssey. Double jump, triple jump, regular jump, ground pound jump, dive, crouch, roll, backflip, side flip, wall jump, long jump, and more. Whew! Mario can also throw Cappy to do a number of things. For one, it acts like a punch, for which the added range is very welcome. Trying to punch those bullies in 64 was the worst. Cappy can also interact with certain objects, and if your hat hits certain enemies, Mario can capture them, allowing their movesets to become yours. Some provide comic relief, while others open the doors to mechanical possibilities. I am now one of you. Wait, what are you doing? I am Goomba! Oh, but the NPCs will start freaking out, like, come on, don't you see the hat and the cute little mustache? Come on! I found all of these captures to be fun, but with 52 in the game, some controlled less than precise. Despite this extensive system, it's the Cappy bounce that's the star of the show. If you hold Y, you can keep Cappy in place. Wait for it, and... boom bassa boom! Did you explode? Here, let me help you explode. As you might guess, this raises the skill cap significantly, but we'll discuss that in particular later. First, let's talk ease of use. I must say, the controls starting off were very strange. You do run faster than in Galaxy, but overall everything feels slower. The wall jump lacks the power it did in Sunshine, and the long jump doesn't instantly propel you into hyperspeed like it does in 64. Interestingly, the triple jump is much easier to pull off with more leniency between jumps, while the side flip is harder since Mario slides for a smaller period of time. The worst offender is the requirement to ground pound before you can dive. This caused me the most mishaps, and is perhaps the most frustrating mistake to deal with. Certain technical moves can also be finicky, like when throwing Cappy into a wall. Moreover, momentum is key, but the game doesn't tell you this. The game's action guide does not explain momentum at all. In fact, it's missing a whole bunch of moves. I just found out that you can do this spin jump for extra height if you jump as soon as Cappy returns to you. You had one job, action guide. One job. Even capture controls have moves they don't tell you, so do experiment. You may find something entirely new. There's also a pseudo power-up later in the game that has some aggravating quirks, but it does raise the skill cap, so there is that. Despite all my grumbling, the controls in a Mario game have never felt more precise, and this is huge. They are silky smooth when they work, with some incredible combos to boot. Once you finally master the controls, you'll be wandering the world with this whimsical abandon unlike any Mario game that came before. Oh, and the camera does a good job at facilitating this too. The native camera focuses on the action rather than Mario, so you very rarely have to fight the camera. If you do need a vision change, you can freely rotate the camera with what is essentially the C-stick, in pretty much every location that matters. The biggest issues crop up when the camera tries to reset on you, and sometimes the angle simply does not work. You can also click the control stick to get into first-person view, something I wish I had known earlier. You can also push the camera around in any cutscene, which is just a small little bonus, but fantastic nonetheless. A few more things. Swimming in this game is basically move, sync automatically, and press B to go up, with an additional breaststroke option. It's a bit odd, but feels more precise than free movement, so I learned to like it. Lastly, the game has motion controls, and sadly some moves are locked behind them with no associated button. However, none of these moves are necessary to complete the game, and I found myself ignoring them for the most part. The only issue is speed, and by that I mean certain points in the game allow you to shake the controller in order to go faster. Again, not necessary, but if you're speedrunning or otherwise going for speed, you'll need to use motion controls. Additionally, there is one moon I needed motion controls for, but honestly that moon confused me a little bit. Okay, enough with controls, let's talk about the adventure! Oh, look at that, our first power moon. You know what this needs? A commemorative photo. Okay, let's see here. What angle do I want here? No, not that way. Yeah, let's get the chain chomp with the rock in the background is what I'm thinking. And let's zoom in here. Yes, I like this. Yes, very good, with the little Goomba there and stuff. Let's see, where do we want the logo? Bottom left, seems good. Okay, now what filter do we want? Blur? Double blur? No. Ooh, silhouette. Well, I do like cartoon, but no. Nah. I do like that a little bit, but I think blur is gonna be the winner here. Okay, good. Photo taken. Ah yes, Power Moons, the main collectible of this game. Each kingdom will have a number of moons, ranging from too little to too many. And you'll have to gather these little doodads to power up the Odyssey and chase after Bowser in other kingdoms. These moons can be anywhere, from behind a wall, to inside the ground, to just hanging out. Some are locked behind actual platforming, while others are prizes in a minigame. The variety is quite outlandish, but just like good old red coins, some of the tasks will be repeated with small variations. I never did tire of collecting moons, but I was quite disappointed seeing a few boring tasks continue to show up. There are a lot more moons than stars this time around, but the big change up is the ability to peruse the moons at your own pace. One of the best parts of the adventure is that first touchdown on a kingdom, where you get to run around and freely explore these intriguing worlds to your heart's content. Savor these experiences, you only get them once. There's a set of mainline objectives for each kingdom, and completing these objectives will unlock more moons. However, right from the get-go, moons are strewn all over each kingdom. You're free to take a few detours or even ignore the main objective entirely. You'll find dozens of power moons and baker's dozens of secrets. That's not an exaggeration, every yardstick of these areas is packed like a deliciously baked potato. And due to the game's controls, you're free to eat that potato in any way you please. There's a moon in the Sand Kingdom that I imagine most people will just capture this bullet bill and fly over like this. However, for me, no way. I'ma do it like this, and then this. Beyond your creative freedom, some moons are simply inventive and spicy. Certain moons are incredibly satisfying to figure out on your own. As someone who had Sunshine spoiled for them, I mean it, you owe it to yourself to stay away from the internet on this one. If you must have help, there are plenty of in-game hint systems, and I'd say only given to those if you are completely lost. Some of the best moons are the most obscure ones. Outside the power moons, you've got coins everywhere, even inside Goombas, and then slightly more elusive purple coins. which are used to buy things at the Crazy Cap store. You can deck out the Odyssey with souvenirs or buy costumes for Mario. The costumes make an exciting cosmetic addition to the game, but mix and match anything and it pretty much looks ugly. Get it out of my sight! Now, mileage may vary due to the game's sandbox nature, but all things considered, the main story is pretty short. And let me just say, there's no Haunted House Kingdom, which is quite upsetting. Once you hit the post-game, even more moons will open up, and it's back to each kingdom to fill out your moon decks. This is when I noticed a particular problem with our kingdoms, which I can sum up in one word: small. Now, the worlds may seem big because there's so much to do in them, but if you take the distance between any two moons in most kingdoms, it's honestly pretty small. With a name like Odyssey, I assumed the game would beat out Galaxy in terms of grandeur, but no, it's Galaxy that comes out on top. Even though Galaxy's levels were linear, at the end of each star path I had a sense of accomplishment, that I powered through and conquered the galaxy. In Odyssey, it's pretty much the opposite. Everything is so casual in how it's sitting there, just waiting for you to stumble upon it. Now, the acute will be quick to point out those hidden areas in the game that increase the world size and provide linear challenges like Galaxy. So let's talk about them. Here's my particular example course. Here you wander around the fog in search of a power moon, which is a neat idea. However, flying from one end of the course to the other takes roughly 10 seconds. The entire course. And half of that is empty space. It's small. Yes, that's just one example, but take my word for it, a lot of them are small. Not only does it take all of 1 minute to grab the moon, but it's also easy. Like, I'm talking, I could beat this with my eyes closed. It's the deadly combination. Quick and easy. It's disappointing. You've got this completely separate world in which you can play with the mechanics however you feel like. It's the perfect opportunity to make moons either mind-numbingly difficult or exciting adventures into the unknown. I mean, I'm just imagining this giant labyrinth of girders, and don't try and tell me they don't have the textures for this. Now, I'm glad we got what we did, and I understand why Nintendo did quick and easy. They want the focus to be on gameplay and fun, and too much empty space is bad for the whole sandbox design. The game went through a trash compactor. This compacted gameplay concept permeates the entire game, and it pretty much works. But for someone who is so excited to learn all these new and exciting gameplay mechanics, the game does not provide ample opportunities that prove your mastery of these skills. There are a few, thank goodness for that, but with the amount of moons in the game, I certainly expected a lot more. However, something helps this, but that's a spoiler. A bigger, however, there is something else that saves this, but not without its own consequences. Let's pick a boss. There are a few difficult bosses, but most are easy, like this Brutal, for example. You wait until she drops the big bomb and then you whack it into her face. Then she flies around while laughing maniacally, and then you do it again. If you play it well though, you can knock one of the little bombs at her. And if you play it even better, you can knock her out of the sky. Even though the boss is simple enough, with good skill you can beat the boss faster. It's a nice touch, and most bosses have this. Still, bosses are only a small portion of the game, and this is when all those crazy move combinations come into play. Remember how I said the Cappy Bounce raises the skill cap? Well, the game itself rarely pushes the skill requirement very high, but you can push it all the way up yourself. Let me show you what I mean. Scaling Sky Garden Tower without P-switches or uproot in less than 30 seconds is more difficult than 95% of what you have to do to complete Odyssey, and I'm sure you could get this to sub 20 seconds with good optimization. Crazy wild jumps and smart moves can turn easy segments into some of the most challenging maneuvers ever imagined in a Mario game, while still remaining instinctual and easy to understand. The downside is, a cool move is just a cool move. Yes, there are a few maneuvers that offer a reward, but that's it, just a few. You can also use some of these maneuvers in a speedrun, but the key word is some. The problem with speedruns is the target is always the fastest time. You might think that my Sky Tower move is cool, but there's a moon at the top of this tower which only seems possible with an uproot. So if you're attempting a speedrun of this game, my maneuver is basically useless. However, these maneuvers nonetheless provide that difficult challenge, and for that, I am grateful. All in all, this game cannon blasts it right out of the water. The controls have never been better for a Mario game, and with so many ways to play and things to discover, anyone with a remote interest in platforming can find an exciting experience waiting to surprise you. This game is an excellent conglomeration of most of what made Mario fun. For what this game lacks in grandeur and challenge, it is a masterclass in everything else. For this reason, you may still hold an older Mario game closer to your heart, but this is the definitive Switch game. I have a lot of expectations for Mario going forward, but for now, it's easy to give Super Mario Odyssey 5 particular mushrooms. Mario, I'm trying to take a panoramic shot and you're yawning? Are you serious? What the frick? Oh, and yes. Okay, here's where I say spoiler alert. I'm probably being a bit overcautious, but still, if you don't want a costume spoiled for you, skip to the time on the screen. Okay, you good? I warned you. By far, the best thing about this game is Waluigi! 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 Yes, yes, yes! Oh, what's this? This outfit makes you want to lurk in the shadows, waiting for a turn in the spotlight. Year of Waluigi Nintendo, please! Wow, so I wanted a cute little review and this is what I got. What do you guys think of Odyssey? Do you agree with my criticisms? Something I totally missed? I'd be interested in doing more reviews, but they're not my favorite videos to do, so I'll leave that with you. You can definitely expect more Odyssey from me, but I'm going to wait a few months to let people actually play through the game before I spoil all the coolest things for everyone. So in the pipeline, I've got one more video idea, and then we're heading back to Sunshine. Thank you all for watching. Go on an adventure, and I will see you all later. Ciao! This amiibo is this? Oh, of course, it's a good old lovely amiibo. Obviously.